There are 5 mistakes I see businesses make all the time when they market themselves. So if you're not getting the level of results that you want from your marketing efforts, the chances are pretty good that one of these 5 things is the reason why. My name's Ed Erickson. I've been working with companies for their marketing for 20 years. I've worked with everyone from individual coaches up to multinational corporations, and I've seen every single one of them make some version of the mistakes that I'm about to talk about. So let's jump in and see what these 5 mistakes are and what you can do instead. Okay, the first mistake that I see all the time is that the audience that these companies are trying to serve is too broad. Essentially, they're trying to sell to everybody, and that never works. What you need to do instead is come up with a very specific targeted niche that you focus on. And the reason you want to do that is all about making a connection and getting a message that resonates. Think about if you're talking to one person, it's very easy for you to adopt your message to speak very much directly to that one person and say the exact things that are going to resonate with them. Now, when you're talking to 100 people, you can't do that, right? What you have to do instead is you have to find a lowest common denominator to talk to all of them. And that's exactly what happens in marketing. When you're talking to a very narrow, specific target audience, you can speak directly to them and you can make a connection. When you're trying to speak to everybody, you have to water it down so much that what you're saying is meaningless. So think about who it is you're serving and go after that one specific narrow niche and talk directly to them. Now, the thing that a lot of people say when I tell them this is, well, but if I'm only going after this one narrow niche, then I'm losing all these potential sales. Well, no, you're not. Because what you're doing here is you're marketing to that one specific narrow niche. And you can almost think of it as a dartboard, right? And you're throwing darts, that's your marketing message, is the darts. You're throwing darts at this dartboard trying to hit the bullseye, which is that niche audience. But what happens when you do that? You hit the stuff all around the bullseye too. So you'll still get these other customers will come to you. It's just you're only proactively going after this one very specific niche. So that's the first mistake. You're going too broad. So come up with a more targeted niche. Second problem that I see is that you're not solving a problem for your customers. See, people spend money on one thing and one thing only, to get their problem solved. So if you aren't solving a compelling problem for your market, they have no reason to buy from you. So really think about what is that problem that you are solving for them, and is that problem compelling enough that your market wants to spend money to get it fixed? Problem number 3 that I see all the time is that you're not talking about benefits in your marketing. Instead, you're talking about features, right? The stuff you're going to do. Me. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Nobody cares. What they care about is what you're going to do for them. And that's all about benefits. So think about whenever you're talking about your product or service, don't tell them the specific stuff you're going to do. Tell them what's in it for them. What benefit are they going to get by getting your service or your product? That's what people care about, and that's what you need to talk about. Now, only after you've communicated these benefits and people have decided they're interested, then you can talk about the actual stuff or the features. But at first, you need to talk about the benefits because people buy benefits. So the fourth thing that I see people do all the time, that's mostly a mistake, is that they're not warming their audience up, right? They're trying to sell cold. It's like their very first contact with a complete stranger is, hey, you want to buy my stuff? No, they don't. You need to warm your audience up. Selling to cold traffic almost never works. So that's why funnels exist, and that's why marketers use them, especially when you're talking about a high ticket or a complicated product or service. You've got to warm them up. And there's research that shows that you need 8, 10, 15 different touches before someone's ready to buy And that's if you're selling face-to-face. If you're selling online, you need many more touches than that before people become warmed up and get to know you and are comfortable with you and are ready to buy. So stop trying to go in for the kill with one shot and make a sale, because it's not going to work. Instead, build a funnel that warms your prospects up and moves them into the purchase. And the fifth mistake that I see a lot in marketing is that companies get lost in the crowd. And what I mean by that is, in the modern world, everybody has competition. And what I see is you and all of your competitors are trying to go at the same prospects, and you're largely saying the same things in the same way, from the same places. So it just becomes this big, disorganized, loud mess. And you've got all this competition that's like right there. So what you want to do instead is find ways to reach your audience that are different than what everybody else is doing. It's sort of the same thing as, if you're trying to get into a big concert venue and there's a huge crowd all trying to push through the front doors, well, you go around to the alley on the side and go in the side door. And that's what you want to do with your audience as well. Find ways to reach your audience where there aren't other people, because then they can hear your voice and engage with you, and you're not trying to shout over all your competition. So an example of that in, say, Facebook ads would be to not use the obvious targeting that everyone else in your industry is using. Find things that those same people are also doing that are maybe related, and use that as your targeting instead. So you're going to get in front of people in a different context. If you're thinking about just direct ads, right? Don't advertise in the same places in the same way as everybody else. Find a different context where you get the audience to yourself. There you have it. Those are the 5 mistakes that I see marketers make over and over and over again. Everything from solo coaches all the way up to giant corporations. They all make these mistakes. So again, your first mistake is that you're going too broad. So make sure that you go after a narrow targeted audience. Second mistake is that you're not solving a problem. Right? Getting a problem solved is the only thing that people pay for. So make sure that you're solving one. The third thing is that you're not talking about benefits. People don't care about your stuff. They care about what they're going to get from your stuff. So you've got to talk about the benefits, because that's what they buy. The fourth thing is don't sell to cold traffic. Warm them up first. If you try to sell cold, chances are you're not going to make a lot of sales. So warm them up. Get them ready to buy from you. And then finally, don't get lost in the crowd. Find ways to reach your audience that your competition isn't using, and then you get them all to yourself. So that's it. Those are the 5 mistakes. If you found that useful, follow us on Facebook and Instagram.